In this exercise, we're going to finish off our dashboard here with our bar charts here for our top 5 customers and top 5 sales employees with accompanying pivot chart slider that is dynamic. So if someone were to choose mugs, they get to see who the top 5 customers, top 5 sales employees are according to mugs. If they want to select more, they can just click and drag and see those changes. Otherwise, we'll select them all. There it is. Okay, let's take a look on how we can build this out. Let's get into it. Okay, this is a bit of a long exercise, so I encourage you to use that pause, play button to reverse and see the steps that we're taking here. We're going to go over to our calculations worksheet, and what I want to do is I want to build 2 pivot tables down here that will represent our top 5 customers and our top 5 sales employees by products. So we're going to come up and we're going to select our sales manager pivot table and title up here, and I want to copy it down here to F40. So I'm going to come up and I'm going to press Control, click the border, drag it down. That's a little shortcut I like to use, and drop it right there. Next, I'll scroll down a little bit. I'm going to change the title of this to top 5 sales managers by product. There it is. Oh, maybe I'll capitalize that M, just like that. Now I want to make a second copy of this pivot table and title, so I'll select it again and I want to paste it over here. So I'm going to press Control, click the border, drag it over, drop it right there. Change the title to top 5 customers. So I'm just going to select here in the formula bar and type customers, just like that. Now with the active cell in this pivot table over here for top 5 customers, I'm going to come over to my pivot field task pane and I'm going to remove the full name from rows, and then I'm going to scroll up. I don't see the table I need, so I'm going to click all and I'm going to look for master customers. There it is. And then I want to move customer name down to rows, just like that. Pretty simple. So let's narrow this down. As we can see, we have a long list of customers. We don't want all of them. We only want the top 5. So I'm going to click this filter here and then come down to value filters and choose top 10. I'm just going to change that 10 to a 5 and click OK. So now we have our top 5. Okay, next I want to format this. So I'm going to right click here in the values, go to number format. I'm going to change this to currency with 0 change or no decimals. Click OK. So that's formatted nicely. Now if I look, I can see that the grand total is a total of these values, the top 5. We don't want that. We want the total value of all the customers. So I'm going to right click here on the grand total. I'm going to come over to pivot table options, and then here on the totals and filters tab, I'm going to choose include filtered items in total, and I'm going to click OK. I'm not too worried about the asterisk there, so I'm going to click OK. There it is. Now it calculates all of them. Now I'm going to do those same things over here to the top 5 sales managers. So I'm going to click the filter drop down, go to value filters, top 10, change this to 5, click OK. Format this, right click, number format, currency, no change, click OK. Right click again, go to pivot table options, totals and filters, include filtered items in total. There we go. Okay, so next I want to put in my floating filter called a slicer. So I'm going to come over to my pivot table fields. I'm going to click all. I want to come down to master product, and then I want to right click here, product group, and choose add slicer. We now have a slicer that will change our results. So if I choose clothing, it changes it. Our salespeople. If I choose packing, changes it. Now that's good, but what I want to do is when I click on a filter, I want both tables to change and reflect the filter. So I'm going to cancel that filter out so they're all displayed. I'm going to come over into this pivot table for the customers, the top 5 customers, and I'm going to come up to my pivot table analyze ribbon tab. Over in the filter group, I'm going to click filter connections. Now here in the filter connections, I see there's only one filter, i.e. slicer, So I'm going to click this. I can see that product group is the same as this title over here because it says caption. I'm going to click OK. So they're now both linked. Now watch this. I'm going to move this over here. Now you'll notice that as I select different items to be filtered by, for example toys, they both are dynamic. Special, so they all change. So I'm going to close that down. And then we want to build our bar charts. So I'm going to place my active cell in this top 5 customers by product. I'm going to go to my Insert Ribbon tab and then click the top half of Pivot Chart. Now that opens up my Insert Chart dialog box. I'm going to choose Bar and then just click OK. And that'll pop up here in the center. I'll scroll down just a little bit because I want this to be positioned over here. Now the first thing I'm going to do is turn off these field buttons. So I'm going to come up on my Pivot Chart Analyze Ribbon tab. I'm going to click the top half of Field Buttons. And then I want to select the horizontal axis and press Delete, the legend, and the title. I'm pressing Delete to remove them. Next I want to come to my chart elements and then come down to data labels, and I'm going to click that arrow next to it and choose Inside End. That'll put some text boxes there in each bar. I'm going to select one of them and they're all selected now. So next I'm going to come up to my Home Ribbon tab and change this font color to white. So now they're a little bit more visible. Next I want to format my data bars themselves. I want to make them a little wider. So I'm going to right click on this, Format Data Series, and that'll open up my Format Data Series. Now you'll see that I have my series options opened up here down under Gap Width. I'm going to click inside here, select it, and I'm going to type in 80%. Now when I do, my bar data series will open up and widen. Next I'm going to click my data labels again, and I'm going to change that font size to 12. So now it's clearly visible. Now I'm going to select the chart itself, and I'm going to come to my Format Ribbon tab, and I'm going to change the height to 2 inches. Press Tab, and then change the width to 4 inches. Press Enter. So now that's sized down nicely, so that's the size I want to have on my dashboard. Now you'll notice that the chart is not showing in a particular order. I want this to be largest to smallest. So if I come up here to my values and I right click and go to sort, you might think, okay, largest to smallest. However, this is in reverse order that we want. We want to have the largest at the top and smallest at the bottom. So I'm going to right click here again, come to sort, and change this to smallest to largest. Now that displays the way we want it to. Now I want to build another chart for my sales manager. So I'm going to click inside this pivot table, go to Insert Pivot Table, Bar, click OK. Here it is, pretty good. Now you might think, oh boy, I got to do all these things again to format it to look like this one. No, I'm going to come over and select this chart. I'm going to press Control-C on my keyboard. And then I'm going to come over and click on this newly created chart and press Control-V. Look at that. It automatically formats it the way in which this other one is. Now I want to adjust the size here, so I'm going to go to Format and change the height to 2 inches and the width to 4 inches. There we go. Now they're matching sizes. Now lastly, I'm going to look to see when I deselect this, I can see there's a nice border around each of these. I don't want those. We want them to be borderless. So I'm going to select this chart here and come to the Format Ribbon tab. Here in the Shape Styles, I'm going to click Shape Outline and choose No Outline. And do the same thing for the other chart. There, now there are no borders. Now I want to sort this the same way the top 5 customers are sorted. So I'm going to right click here and the values, sort, and go smallest to largest. That looks great. That's exactly what we want. Okay, now we're ready to move these charts over to our dashboard. So I'm going to select them both. I press Control to click them both and then do a Control X to cut them. I'm going to come to Dashboard. I'm going to select cell A28 here, and then I'm going to press Control V to paste them. Pretty simple. Now in a moment we're going to reposition these. First I want to come over to my calculations and grab my slicer here, grab my slicer, and then do Control X, Dashboard, Control V. Now I'm going to reposition this kind of over here for now. Now I want this slicer to appear horizontally this way instead of vertically. So I'm going to come to my Slicer Ribbon tab. Here in the Buttons group, I'm going to click inside here and change the number of columns to 7. Why 7? Because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 filters, or 7 fields within this filter. So I'm going to press Enter. There it goes. Now I need to adjust the height and width. I'm going to click in the height and change this to 0.7 and press tab. Change this one to 8 and press enter. So now it's stretched out nicely. I'll reposition this kind of down in here, right there. Now we can present this a little better. We can remove the caption even. So I'm going to come up here to the slicers group and click slicer settings, and then deselect this and click OK. There you go. I'll adjust the height of this, so from 0.7 to 0.5. That looks better. Now I'm going to move my charts around a little bit, snug them kind of next to each other. I want to make sure that they're below row 27 there, because that's going to leave room for our titles. First I'm going to grab this vertical shape here, and I'm going to press Control, click and drag down to kind of make more of a separator here. I'm going to then select this text box for product category, this text box for sales by month. I'm going to press Control, click and drag down, and there they are. Now I'm going to double click in here and rename this as top 5 customers, just like that. And I'm going to rename this one as top 5 sales employees. So now we have our section built out a little bit better. Next I want to put a nice border at the bottom, but before I do, I'm going to adjust these nicely. I'm going to select them both. I select the first one, press Control, select the next one. I'm going to come up to Shape Format, Align Top. So now that I know they're aligned nicely, I'll drag this up just a little bit to where it's just below row 26 there. Now with that in place, I'm going to deselect and then grab this horizontal bar here. I'm going to press Control, click and drag down right in here to row 37, and then I want to recolor this bottom border and this top border. That's what these are considered. I'm going to press Control and select the top one as well. Now I'm going to come up to my Shape Format ribbon tab and click Shape Fill, and then choose this dark blue color. So now they're the same colors. Now this slicer here has this blue border around it. If I click on this slicer, come to Slicer ribbon tab, over in the Slicer Styles, if I click the More button here, we do not have a slicer format or style that does not have borders. So the way we're going to fix this, I'm going to see that this one is the one that's being applied now. I'm going to right click on this and duplicate it. When I do, it opens up my Modify Styles, my Modify Slicer Styles. I'm going to rename this as No Borders, and then click Format, Border, None, click OK. And then click OK again. It was not applied, as you can see here. This previous one is still applied. Over here is the no borders that we just created. I'm going to click this. Now when I deselect it, there's no border there. Well, our dashboard is building out nicely. It's looking really great. It's all dynamic. In the next exercise, we're going to do a few final touches to clean this up, such as removing all these cell border lines and stuff, and then restrict this area to only the dashboard area. All right, well, I hope this was helpful, and we'll see you in the next exercise.